Good day, mi gente. This is Ray Collazo, your host of Bomba Live, the talk show you've been waiting for your entire life. I'm so excited. I'm going to take these glasses off because it is June. And when it's early June, Puerto Ricans, the Puerto Ricans in your life get a little extra pep in your step, is because one of our iconic, uh, really, and Puerto Ricans know how to throw good parties, but really one of our iconic events on the social calendar, the cultural calendar, the National Puerto Rican Day Parade, taking place this Sunday in New York City on the iconic Fifth Avenue parade route that we've been doing now, going on 66 years, fam. We've been in the game for a minute as it relates to New York and our contributions within the diaspora in the mainland part of the United States. And I wanted to have on Bomba Live, the talk show you've been waiting for your whole life, someone who's part of the National Puerto Rican Day Parade to talk about its significance in 2023 and kind of some details about this exciting event that I know many of you, whether you'll be in New York City or not, are very excited about, because in so many ways it really kicks off the summer for New Yorkers. It kicks off the summer in many ways for the Puerto Rican community. And I'm really proud to have on the show the vice chair of the National Puerto Rican Parade Committee, Miguel Guadaloupe. Welcome to Bomba Live, Miguel.
Welcome. Wepa, everybody. Nice to see everyone.
Miguel, thank you so much for joining the show. I just, let's get right into it. The National Puerto Rican Day Parade is so iconic in so many ways. Not just, as I said earlier, not just as Puerto Ricans and Latinos, but New York City. I mean, it was memorialized in a very infamous Seinfeld episode, amongst other things. But I know that, kind of post Maria, and where we had to unfortunately cancel the parade for a year or two, and kind of as the Puerto Rican community becomes so much more disparate around the diaspora throughout the states. I'm curious what your thoughts are, to kind of share with our audience what you feel as part of the National Puerto Rican Day Parade Committee. What is the significance of the National Puerto Rican Day Parade in 2023 for our community?
Right. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I grew up with the parade. My when I was 8 years old, I marched. I grew up in the South Bronx, and if you know anything about the Bronx, they used to have these groups. They called them batuteras, which was these groups of young kids mostly with sort of cheer dancers in the front, and little fringe outfits, sometimes with batons, sometimes with pom poms, and in the back there are usually young men or young boys playing beats with drums. So I was one of those drummer boys walking down when I was about 8, 9, 10 years old. And then I would go, you skip 10 years later, and I'm marching down as an undergrad in college, representing my Latino fraternity and encouraging folks to seek higher education. And all those years in between, somewhere involved, and always the National Puerto Rican Day Parade was their center point, or the beginning of the summer. Really, it really was the milestone of the year. So this has always been significant to me. In terms of the community, I think it, the numbers speak for themselves. We got 1 million people that watch this event every year. It's the largest cultural celebration in the country. And whether it's participating on the sidewalks, or participating in the parade, or watching it at home on television, or seeing it online, the numbers show how much people really cherish and center themselves around this event every year. So I would say it's very significant even in 2023 as we move forward, and as the community, as you said, spreads throughout the country. So it's not highly concentrated just around one city, New York City, but many cities: Orlando, Chicago, even LA. We're honoring LA this year as one of the communities of Boricuas. And so, we're all over the country now. We're all over the world now. And our numbers continue to grow in significance as well as in quantity. And we all look toward the National Puerto Rican Day Parade to kind of put that exclamation point on our community every year. So
It's meant a lot to me, and I'm not even from New York originally. I'm a Philly Puerto Rican, and
there you go.
I remember my first New York Puerto Rican Day Parade was probably like, I don't know, it was like 11 or 12, and remember my dad made a big thing about taking us up there, and I remember Walter Cronkite. A lot of youngsters don't remember who that is, but he was like the television news journalist of the day, whatever, NBC or and that's when there was 3 channels. So those guys were like gods in
Right,
media,
right,
and
right, right,
I remember
right.
him crossing the street, and my dad was so excited, wow, that's Walter Cronkite, and then all the celebrities, Edith Chacons and all the salseros and all the big celebrities of that time, I guess the late '80s, and and then I lived in New York for a time, and kind of as a young guy when going to a parade was a whole lot of fun, and it's a whole different experience. So you're right. It has had a cultural, even for people never gone. There's like just
Mhm,
cultural. There's a mystique about this moment that you all capture at the parade, where you really get a chance to honor not just our culture. And the theme this year is música, cultura y alegría,
mhm,
but really kind of like our people. And I
mhm,
want to ask you a second about kind of the honorees, which I think is a fantastic list. Y'all did a fantastic job with putting that group together. But so to that point, the process,
mhm.
just the idea of putting together such a not only such a big event in scope with, if hundreds of thousands of people there physically, millions of people watching whether it's on ABC or on online or on social media. And there's a lot going on in Puerto Rico. There's a whole lot of people that want to be a part of it. There's lots of interests. No one's ever fully happy with all of it. Talk to us a little bit about, just the process of putting this incredible venture together as a group, as a community.
Yeah, sure. So it's my second year with the board. I volunteered before with some of the organizations that have helped with the parade, um, and as vice chair and as a board member. Again, this is an all volunteer board, right? So we all have our 9 to 5s or our 9 to 9s, as I like to call it, and then so we put this thing together out of love for our people, our community, our culture, and this desire really to make sure that we're being heard, right? So it's about lifting up both our voices. And it's something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. So I feel this is a privilege and an honor to be part of this board. And we work on this all year. Whether it's communicating with our honorees or communicating with potential contingents. What you see these last 2 weeks is actually the culmination of 12 months of work. That almost starts, with a little bit of a break. I mean, because Jesus, right? Like right after the
Yeah.
parade, we take, maybe a couple of weeks off just to decompress, and then we start all over again. And we've got members that are, used to be very New York City centric, but just like our community, we've got members now in LA, Georgia, the island, of course.
Yeah. Alanta Veras, who's a good
Yeah,
friend. I know
yeah,
he's one of
yeah.
your island board members, holding it down not only for the island but the business community.
Right. So you should take a look at our list of directors on the website. I think you'll see some changes there, but I think we reflect a pretty good cross section of the community and kind of where we are, et cetera. And so yeah, the processes in terms of how we select things, it's very collaborative. We have committees. We discuss, we debate, we make decisions. And the interesting thing about this is that it's a finite. We're always working toward the same goal. But it's not just the parade we're working on. We actually work on like a half a dozen events. We've got our festival, which is a month before the parade, which is in the Bronx. We have our gala, which is a couple days before the parade. We have our scholarship program, which we're actually reading scholarship applications and interviewing students and giving them workshops. Around that time, that takes up a lot of our time and commitment, and it's our joy because a lot of what we do, one of the missions of this parade board is not just to throw our parade, but to give over $200,000 in scholarships to incoming or attending college and university students
It's a
throughout the
100
country.
kids. I mean, I was looking at that this morning, and kudos to you. I didn't realize it was that many kids, students.
Yeah, and they're getting
And
pretty significant scholarships. This is not pennies. Like
yeah,
we raise
and
for
just
that.
think about what you just said, like you're vetting, you're reviewing applications, you're interviewing kids, you're advising them, you're providing them technical assistance. What you just said, that's I didn't even wasn't aware of that. So you're talking about just the scholarship process alone to support 100 Puerto Rican college students around the diaspora. That's a whole organization of itself.
It is, and we wouldn't be able to do it without an army of volunteers, which we also recruit and orientate and train, and work with. So we've got, hundreds of volunteers that work with us on the events. We've got, dozens of volunteers that help us with the scholarship program. So, a lot of that is also, I mean, for all intents and purposes, the board of the National Puerto Rican Day Parade, or the parade itself, is its own, not-for-profit this could be its own fully employed, full-term nonprofit organization, but it's run completely on a volunteer basis.
Fantastic. We're talking to Miguel Guadaloupe, who's the vice chair of the National Puerto Rican Day Parade Committee. Just really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. The parade's coming up June 11th. Also, Miguel mentioned the gala is Friday, June 9th. And, there's lots of events. We're going to give 100 Puerto Rican college students scholarships. So I'm really, really excited about that part of it, and kind of not only providing them an opportunity to continue their education, but also can keep them connected to not just being Puerto Rican, but a sense of giving back as part of the ethos and kind of the commitment of, you getting this opportunity, keep the door open, continue to grow our activist footprint. Miguel, I would imagine that I don't envy y'all position, because, I know there's a lot of people wondering, wow, what are lessons learned that y'all can share with us around the country? Because, when you organize with Puerto Ricans, it's tough because we have so much interest. We have a very diverse political spectrum, particularly, whether it's island-based. There's two different political universes, right? Island-based, throughout the diaspora. And, there's lots of different intersections, and people, and I've heard it, just being an activist, it's not political enough, or they didn't pick the right political people, or it's too corporate, or, they're not acknowledging too many singers. They need to acknowledge, people in other fields. So it just, and I think, I want to ask you about it a little more specifically in a second, but, I think the cross section of honorees that you put together this year in particular, I think is really a reflection. Y'all put a little work into it.
We put a lot of work into it. Yeah, absolutely.
So talk to us about that process, brother, because we could all learn, I'm sure, from this consensus building you all have had to do over the year.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it just stems from the diversity of the board, right? You have to have a board that comes from different walks of life, that has different opinions even amongst itself, that have different experiences, that come from different parts of the country. I think the diversity of our board is really the secret sauce in terms of making sure that we've got different ways of approaching our work, and the honorees are a reflection of that. We've got folks who are coming in from musical and entertainment. We have folks who are coming from television industry. We have folks who are coming from unions and corporate individuals. We've got folks from the community. We've got dancers. We've got Broadway stars. I mean, we've got authors. We've got we've got the mix.
A teenage surfing champion.
Yes, a teenage
champion on the adult level. She's not like on the youth level.
Right, and who's legally blind.
Right. That's I didn't know that till this morning, because I'd followed her career, but I didn't know that part of her story. And when I looked at your list, I was like, hold on, I didn't realize she was visually impaired.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible story.
Yeah, so we do a lot. I mean, we start out with a huge list of possibilities, and we whittle it down based on what the theme is this year, or what kind of message we're trying to come across. Some of it is literally availability, right? Especially with the bigger stars. Some of it is about luck. Some of it is about I've got a connection to so and so. Like, some of it is all of that. Some people come to us. All of that is there's no one process, but it's all of them, and then it's up to the committees and then the board to kind of take that list and make it as impactful as we possibly can. So not only does it attract people to the parade, right, with the big names, et cetera, but it also highlights and uplifts voices of the community that we want, that that are folks in arts and culture, and advocacy, and medicine, and all of these other places, to give people inspiring individuals to look up to, both as young people and as adults like ourselves.
Fantastic. We're going to take a quick break. I want to show a few best of clips where myself and some of the other Bomba Live family members, which actually was inspired. Miguel, you don't know this story, but that the National Parade really inspired Bomba Live because when
Nice.
y'all announced your cancellation in 2020 for obvious reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and I was looking around, and I've been doing this. We used to the brand used to be Founded Translation with the podcast, and all the parades got canceled, all the Fiesta Patronal, all of our stuff got canceled. So I'm like, we need to do something. So Bomba Live initially started as a virtual parade to honor, kind of to make up. And we did it in June of 2020. And some of the people that were part of that, you'll see on these clips. And then we did it again in 2021. And so I said, well, now that we're actually having events again in person, let's see if we can make this kind of more of a regular content program to really highlight Puerto Ricans doing all kinds of things. So we've
That's
talked
awesome. That's
in the
great.
last few weeks, we've talked about Alan Taveras was honored on our show on Bomba Live 1 in 2020 as an example. And so in the last few weeks, we've had political analysts talk about Act 22, and we've talked about Puerto Rican boxers. And so that's the kind of stuff that we like to do here and kind of mix
Wonderful.
everything Puerto Ricans are about in all
Absolutely.
ways. So, and try to do it in a way that's informative and entertaining. So we're going to see a few clips from previous Bomba Lives. When we come back, I want to give Miguel the opportunity to give us some more details about what to expect Sunday. Shout out a few names of the honorees and learn a little bit more about the National Puerto Rican Day Parade. You got to check it out Sunday, June 11th in New York City, and some of the other ancillary events that are going on. So a few clips from previous Bomba Lives, and we'll be right back with Miguel Guadaloupe. Let's be honest about it. How much música urbana el movimiento reggaeton has done for our community? How many kids have it's kept off the street? How many mouths are getting fed? How many business have grown? How is it expanding the Puerto Rican influence in every way, bro? I mean, people in all over Latin America, all over the world use Puerto Rican slang. You know what I'm saying? Like, the political impact, Ricky renuncia.
I got a few questions for you, okay? I've been dying to ask a Puerto Rican chef que wears a Puerto Rican hat, got cuatros in the background, got a flag. You represent. Okay. Okay, here we go. Ready? Pastelillo de guayaba, ¿con queso o sin queso?
Oh, sin queso.
Thank you. Oh my God. Where the church
sin queso.
When they put queso in that, yo me pongo tan malo. Why are you putting queso, man? I said guayaba. I don't need queso. You know what? Use that space and put more guayaba. Okay.
That's it.
Pasteles. ¿Con ketchup o sin ketchup?
Con ketchup.
This is my man, yo.
Like they all know, even though we don't want it to be like this, we don't want it to turn violent. We don't want it to get to this level of, either life or death. But I feel we all know what we're risking here. And it's so much worth each of our life. This is bigger than any of us. It's Puerto Rico, it's our land. And even if we have to sacrifice our own bodies to protect it, we're willing to do it.
I know, because listen, a mí me dieron mucho de la chancleta y la correa. I was not a well-behaved child.
Oh, who you telling? A mí me sacaron del parque jugando basketball a chancletazo limpio.
There you go.
And I had one of those typical moms que te decía, te dije que llegara a las 7 de la noche. Exactly. Ahora, súbete para arriba. And every time she mentioned a word, there was a chancletazo with that one behind it.
That's right.
DJ Speedy always breaks it down for us, puts a smile on our face. That was Bomba Live 2. The DJ Speedy and one of my primary co-hosts, Christina Vega, the co-executive producer of Bomba Live, when we do our annual big specials, was on there. There's lots of people there. Wilmar Vasquez, who's holding down Campamento en Aguadilla, from Eli Castro and Sabo Would Love, who's part of your parade as part of the social media influencers. Greg and Nicole will be on that float with you. Having I don't agree with Greg on the ketchup thing. I'm a purist when it comes to the ketchup. That's one of the great debates. I have a dad to put ketchup on freaking everything. Eggs, scrambled eggs, pastelas. I'm like, no. Let's keep it real. But that's one of the great debates we love to have amongst us. And there was a lot of great highlights there. We're here with Miguel Guadaloupe talking about the National Puerto Rican Day Parade coming up this Sunday, June 11th. Miguel, let people know what to expect. let's start with the parade route. This is a spectacular. The pageantry of this thing is unbelievable. So share people some details about what to expect if they're going to planning going to the physical parade this Sunday.
Absolutely. So first of all, I want to say that this is probably going to be one of the biggest parades we've had in a very long time. We've got close to 200 contingents registered to march down Fifth Avenue on Sunday. We've got almost 100 floats coming down the avenue. And so we're really, really excited. The parade itself is from 49th Street to 79th Street on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, in New York City. And it'll start officially at 11 o'clock. On TV, it starts at noon. So everybody will, because what happens is that as the parade goes on, it usually gets to the grandstand, and then it'll, start there on the television. And you can also see it streamed live through ABC7.com. We've got an amazing honoree class for 2023. As you know, Giselle Blondet, Spanish language television host and personality, is our Grand Marshal. As Queen, we've got one of my faves, Justina Machado. You may know her as Penelope from the remake of One Day at a Time. For Madrina, and Madrina, the Padrinos, a huge position in any Puerto Rican family. And the Madrina this year is none other than Judy Torres from freestyle fame and DJ personality. And our Padrino this year is Ismael Cruz Cordova. You may know him. He's an amazing actor who started out on Sesame Street, interestingly enough, in terms of getting a role national fame, but is now Arendir, which is in the Lord of the Rings, the Power of the Ring TV series. And he's one of the first Black elves or non-white elves that are being depicted as a major character in a major sci-fi or fantasy series. So he's, breaking barriers as Puerto Ricans tend to do. And then the list just goes on and on. We've got, some reggaeton stars like Eladio and Jay Wheeler. We've got Broadway legends like Josie de Guzman. We've got authors and artists and photographers and musicians. We've got influencers like, Omi Hopper from Cooking con Omi as a trailblazer. We've got a union treasurer, Millie Silva. The list just goes on and on. It's actually one of the biggest classes we've had in a while.
Yeah.
I suggest you go to our website and look up the honorees so that you can see for yourselves who they are and look at their bios. You'll be impressed 100 times over when you do.
Excellent. No, and I really want to compliment the group because I'm like everybody else. You could sit there every year and nitpick it and say why this person, but I really y'all did a really good job with this list. I'm very impressed by the list. Millie Silva, I know from MySpace, doing political stuff. That she's actually, I think I went to college with Millie. She's excellent, and it's a great list. A lot of those people, I know I'm doing something right because a lot of people have been on the show, so they kind of owe me and her social media posse and Judy Torres is a good friend to our network and family. And I actually went to college with Judy's brother, Pete. And she's fantastic. And I saw her perform recently. She's good people. And, it's a great group. Silveria Perez, you can't get more Puerto Rican than that, man. I mean, that's keeping it real. That's one of my mom's all-time favorites. And I'd like for you to help me connect with him because I've been trying to get him on my show. And, it's been hard to, he's a busy guy.
I think he's doing something the Saturday before the parade, talking about his latest book. So if you go to our Facebook page, we have the details. And it'll be at in East Harlem at the Art Space.
Okay.
So I would definitely check it out. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. No, Savedio's fantastic. Before we wrap this up, Miguel, want to give you an opportunity to, you get a lot of slings and arrows, and I think a lot of the critique over the years with the parade has been the corporate connections that, they're not keeping it real, these big corporate interests, these people, aren't really, that impacts kind of the content of the event. So just wanted to give you an opportunity to share your thoughts on those kind of criticisms that have happened over the years.
Yeah. I mean, So I think the first thing we need to say is that nobody influences the content of this event. You know, our board of directors are very much independent, and being volunteers, you know, nobody pays our bills from the parade, right? We get our bills paid elsewhere. So we have a level of independence that maybe, you know, a paid, you know, production company may not have. You know, the corporate sponsorships in general help pay for the parade in a way that keeps the cost down for everyone else, right? Prices keep going up to do anything, whether it's materials, whether it's permits, whatever it is. And so corporate sponsorships is a huge part of making sure that Fulano's Domino Club can still afford to march in the parade, right? You know, so that's a really important part. Plus the fact that these companies are often, you know, marketing and doing business with our community. So this is an opportunity for those companies to give back to our community by helping us put together something that is important to our community. You know, so you know, otherwise, how would they do that, right? So this is one of the major ways that many of these companies are giving back, are uplifting voices, are providing scholarship funds to our scholars, and doing the needful. You know, and is good, you know, what they say, corporate responsibility, if you will. So, you know, so that's always been a big part of the, you know, not the biggest part of the parade, but it helps the parade function in the way that it has, and why we're so big, and why we're so impactful these days.
It is it is an interesting conversation. It goes well beyond the parade in terms of like how in this context, the Puerto Rican community engages with corporate America. And, you know, I remember when, and you probably remember this in the 80s and 90s, when Coors Light decided that Puerto Ricans were like their biggest market. And, you know, we went from Bud to Coors Light. That was like that transition. And then people would get mad. Oh, Coors Light sponsoring this. And I'm like, well, you know, they better, because they need to keep it much more real. And, you know, we're having this ongoing conversation on a national level. And I'm sure y'all deal with this a little bit around, you know, the lack of support that Silicon Valley in the tech sector has provided the Puerto Rican Latino community. I mean, without the content Puerto Ricans are putting on these things, you know, there's people that are buying yachts with our people's content.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and we're in our wonderful social media influencers that you have on there, and I love all of them, and a lot of them are good friends of mine. You know, they're not getting nearly the value. They deserve this and more. So the fact that you're highlighting these people who are just literally come from nowhere, the Senor Edisons, the Omis, the Ivelisa, Riendo, I mean, people have just come out of nowhere and influenced our community. And when I started bringing them on my show a few years ago, I was like, and I would say things that I think these are some of the most influential people in our community, period, right now, because these are the people that people are really engaging with them in a real direct way, in a personal way, and there's no filter. It's just direct approach. So the fact you're have acknowledged that, I think, is very visionary from the parade's board perspective, and not, you know, and the fact that that's grown now. Frankie Negron's going to be singing on the floor, another good friend of the program. So it's great. It's really fantastic. So much respect to what y'all are doing. Miguel, as you wrap this up, just anything else you want to share with the Bomba Life family, the Puerto Rican community around the world that's watching, about the upcoming parade and the work of the parade going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, first of all, I want to just make sure everybody's aware. We are very much aware of, you know, the haze and smog situation. So we're monitoring that along with the city, et cetera. So, you know, you know, as of right now, everything seems to be going well, and the parade will continue. So I know we've gotten a lot of questions about that. So just want to make sure that as of right now, the parade will continue unless something drastic changes and we're alerted by the city. The other thing I want to tell everybody is just to have a lot of fun. I mean, this is such a great event. We'd love to have you, you know, share your joy, bring your family, and really just, you know, understand that this is for you. You know, our mission is, you know, un pueblo, muchas voces, right? So we know that folks are coming from all different sides of the spectrum in terms of thought, in terms of culture, in terms of ideas. We get it, and we want to reflect all of you, because this is about the community, and that's what, you know, that's who we're giving back to here.
Miguel, I really appreciate this conversation. I think we have to continue these conversations because, you know, these iconic events that we have in our community, these are, I feel very strongly that institutions matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that the parade is still very relevant 66 years in, and that, you know, save for natural disasters beyond everyone's control, the parade has remained there. on
Yeah.
Fifth Avenue in the heart of Manhattan. You know, this, you know, you can't be any more iconic and centered to the life of New York City and the life of our community than that parade route physically. I think that's very significant. And the fact now it's on TV and it's bigger and better than ever, even though people say, well, you know, New York's not as Puerto Rican as it used to be. And
Mhm.
so, you know, I really applaud the work you're doing. Good to see a young guy in the game doing your thing, and want to
Thank
continue to find ways we can collaborate together.
Yeah.
And so, and the last thing I would say is, you know, one of the things that I'm sure y'all have addressed this and we don't have time to get into it too much, but you know, one of the things that I know that was always something we have to address, what Miguel just said is very important. And I'm talking especially my young boys out there. You want to have a good time. You want to, you know, nothing wrong with flirting and, you know, eye candy and all that. And you want to enjoy yourself, but respect, you know, respect amongst our community, respect our young women,
Mhm.
you know, respect respect the institution. With so littering, things that don't seem like a big thing, public, you know, being a hot mess in public is not what being Puerto Rican's about. And, you
That's
know,
right.
we've dealt with that at our events. We've had communities where we've had to cancel the parade because our folks there was, so unfortunately, a small group of our people couldn't behave. So we want to be respectful, have a good time. You know, I mean, we've all had fun at these things. So there's nothing wrong with that, but let's do it in a way that our ancestors would admire and deserve. So
Yeah.
Miguel
And
Guadaloupe, yes, please.
no, I was just going to say
You
that.
get the
And
last word, brother.
to your point, I think it's interesting point that some of our honorees, like Violeta Galagarza, who's our from East Harlem, and who's a world-renowned dancer, Judy Torres herself, when they
Absolutely.
spoke about their honors, they said they remember coming to the parade as children, and that as children they were inspired by what they saw, and when they grew up, for them to now be part of the parade as honorees was a great, coming, almost like a coming home.
Yes.
And so, 66 years, we now have multiple generations of folks who are finding inspiration from this parade and who might be inspired to do great things on their own. And that's what we want to see. So we want young folks to come. We want them to be inspired. We want them to continue that tradition, because that is how we keep the culture alive and keep our people relevant in this country. So, we hope to see you there.
Miguel, I could have said it better myself, brother. Great way to end the show. Thank you so much, folks. Enjoy the National Puerto Rican Day Parade, Sunday, June 11th in New York City. If you're not there in person, you can watch it on ABC. You can watch it online. It'll be all over your social media. You know that. And Miguel, I'm so glad to have met you here virtually, and we're here to support you in your endeavors 100%. Thank you so much for joining Bomba Live, and have a wonderful day.